Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada and His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalam Midam Vishame Samupastitam Anaryajushtamasvargyam Akirti Karamarjuna Karpanya Doshopahatas Svabhavaha Prichami Tvam Dharma Sammudha Chetaha Yachreya Hasyan Nishchitam Bruhi Tanme Shishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyanan Vashocastvam Prajna Vadamscha Bhashase Gatasu Nagatasumscha Nanushocanti Panditaha Natvevaham Chatunasam Natvam Neme Janadipaha Nachaiva Nabhavishyamaha Sarve Vayamataha Param Dehinosmin Yata Dehe Kaumaram Yauvanam Jara Tatha Dehantara Praptir Dhiras Tatra Namuhyati Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkadaha Agama Paino Nityas Tam Stitikshasva Bharata Yam Hina Vyatayantyete Purusham Purusharshabha Samadukha Sukham Dhiram Somritatvaya Kalpate Nasato Vidyate Bhavo Na Bhavo Vidyate Satah Ubayorapi Drishtvantas Tvanayos Tattvadarshivih Avinashi tu Tadvidhi Yena Sarvam Midam Tatam Vinasham Avyayasyasya Na Kaschit Kartumarhati Antavanta ime deha Nityasyoktaha Sharirinaha Anashino Aprameyasya Tasmad Yudhyasva Bharata Najayate Mriyate Va Kadachin Nayam Bhutva Bhavita Vana Bhuyaha Ajo Nityah Shashvatoyam Purano Nahanyate Hanyamane Sharire Vasamsi Jirnani Yata Vihaya Navani Grihnati Naropara
Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yasodanandana Vrajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Jasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vijupad Paramahamsa Parivajakacarya Ashotara Sata Srimad His Mangles et si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vijupad Paramahamsa Parivajakacarya Ashotara Sata Srimad His Mangles Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sekho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samadhivatis. All glories to the Samadhivatis. All glories to the Samadhivatis. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasabhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bhasharine Nirvesesha Sunnavadi Pastyata Vedatarine. Gopal Prabhu, you know where is my scooter? You know, down there. There inside the lock, I have one book on the this Niti Shastra book. I want to read. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Skanda, 1st chapter, sloka number 6. Tam Kamayanam Bhagavan Uvaha Yajusham Patihi Tushtayam Dosham Apannaha Ajanayat Dvadasa Atmajan Tam Kamayanam Bhagavan Uvaha Yajusham Patihi Tushtayam Toshamapanno Ajanayadvadasatmajan Tam Kamayanam Bhagavan Uvaha Yajusham Patihi Tushtayam Toshamapanno Ajanayadvadasatmajan Tam Kamayanam Bhagavan Uvaha Yajusham Patihi Tushtayam Toshamapanno Ajanayadvadasatmajan. Tam, her, Kamayanam, desiring Bhagavan, the Lord, Uvaha, married, Yajusham, of all sacrifices, Patihi, master, Tushtayam, in his wife, was very much pleased. Tosham, great pleasure, Apannaha, having obtained, Ajanayat, gave birth, Dwadasa, 12, Atmajan, sons. Translation: the Lord of the ritualistic performance of Yajna later married Dakshina, who was anxious to have the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a husband. And in this wife, the Lord was also very much pleased to beget 12 children. Please repeat. The Lord of the ritualistic performance of Yajna later married Dakshina, who was anxious to have the personality of Godhead as a husband. And in this wife, the Lord was also very much pleased to beget 12 children, means sons, 12 sons. Purport by His Evangelist HG Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. An ideal husband and wife are generally called Lakshmi Narayana, to compare them to the Lord and the goddess of fortune, for it is significant that Lakshmi Narayana are forever happy as husband and wife. A wife should always remain satisfied with her husband, and a husband should also always remain satisfied with his wife. In the Chanakya Sloka, the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, it is said that if a husband and wife are always satisfied with one another, then the goddess of fortune automatically comes. In other words, where there is no disagreement between husband and wife, all material opulence is present, and good children are born. Generally, according to Vedic civilization, the wife is trained to be satisfied in all conditions, and the husband, according to Vedic instruction, is required to please the wife with sufficient food, ornaments, and clothing. Then, if they are satisfied with their mutual dealings, good children are born. In this way, the entire world can become peaceful, but unfortunately in this age of Kali, there are no ideal husbands and wives. Therefore, unwanted children are produced, and there is no peace and prosperity in the present-day world. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Sadakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Visamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pradamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ki Jai Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. So this may be a difficult sloka for all the brahmacharis here, glorifying husband and wife when we have taken a vow not to marry. So what is the use of reading this Srimad Bhagavatam sloka? But you are all good children, as Srila Prabhupada says. All brahmacharis here are good children, therefore they must have come from such families where the ideal husband and ideal wife are there. So that's what is important, because that explains why you have come here as brahmacharis. So you can try to understand the situation. In this sloka, there are many things, especially regarding the importance of yajna. Here, the yajna himself is getting married to his twin sister, Dakshina, at the beginning, where there is no such rule that you cannot marry your sister or your... No. At that time, that type of rule was not there because everybody was all together at the very beginning. There were very few people. And this is the ideal combination here. Both of them are very happy. Yajna and Dakshina. Dakshina wanted to marry Bhagavan. Here, Bhagavan Yajna, he is the Supreme Lord, having taken his appearance at the very beginning of creation in order to establish the importance of Yajna. Already Manu is there. Manu is giving the laws of mankind. And in this way, Yajna is making sure that the humankind will be ruled by such yajnas. Yajna, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Yajyarthat karmanonyata loko yam karma bandhanaha. We should act for yajna. Yajna means the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Yajna by Vishnu. So that is the name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that shows the importance of yajna. Yajna means a particular ceremony. There are many such ceremonies described in the Vedic literature. They can be called sanskar, 10 main sanskar throughout the life of a person. Or there are other also yajnas to be performed on certain occasions for the sake of regulating the material activities of mankind. Otherwise, it would be completely wild. Just like animals, they don't follow any yajna, no religious ceremony, nothing like that. They are simply maintaining their body and engaged in their material propensities without any religious duty whatsoever. So humankind should be different from animal society. They should follow some regulations so that they can make advancement in spiritual consciousness, ultimately coming to the stage of Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Prem, our love of God, is the ultimate goal of all human endeavors. And certainly, by performance of yajna, gradually, we can come to the stage of love of Godhead. Otherwise, it is simply acting for sense gratification. Sense gratification leads to further bondage, and there is no question of coming out of this prison house of Maya unless we perform from the very beginning this yajna for the satisfaction of the Lord. So the Lord himself, Yajna Vishnu, he established the importance of different yajnas. And here in this sloka, Srimad Bhagavatam, the yajna called Vivaha Yajna is especially mentioned. As a result, the Yajna and Dakshina begot 12 sons who were very good, later on became some of a very important devata ruling the entire universe. So we can see the importance of performing Vivaha Yajna and other forms of religious ceremony for mankind. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining how the ideal marriage is made of ideal husband, ideal wife. There is no quarrel, and they are satisfied with each other, and they are engaged in spiritual activities. That is most essential. And throughout the whole life, they will live in this manner. Of course, by the end, the husband is allowed to leave the household, his wife and children, and take sannyas. But before that, the time of Vivaha Yagya here specially mentioned, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport, quoting from Chanakya Sloka, that when there is such a combination, such a house, where ideal husband and the ideal wife are living, then the Lakshmi herself will be present. So I wanted to quote what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in the purport. Murkha yatra na pujante dhanyam yatra sanchitam dampatyo kalaho nasti tatra sri swayamagataha. Translation: the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi, personally resides in that place where fools and rascals are not worshipped, where food grains are kept in abundance, and where there is no quarrel between husband and wife. So these three items are mentioned here for the appearance of Lakshmi Devi in a particular house, that there should not be any worship of wrong personality. As nowadays, many false incarnations are everywhere, and people in the houses, they like to worship such personalities. So, but that is not auspicious. The only auspicious worship is worship of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, or Krishna, Radha Krishna, or Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev, Gaur Nitai. These are very important personalities. These are the only personalities to be worshipped in houses. When in houses, the worship of Radha Krishna, Gaur Nitai, Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev is being performed regularly by cooking for them, offering and taking the remnants as Jagannath Prasad or Radha Krishna Prasad. And when they are very nicely dressed, arti is being performed regularly every day. And kirtan is also being done in the house, along with the members of the house, children and servants. So everything becomes very auspicious. This is the ideal house, which is what Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish throughout the world. Because certainly not everybody can be or remain a brahmachari. He should establish eventually a house along with his wife. So these conditions are there for the ideal family. So the number one is that fools and rascals in such a house should never be worshipped. Then, second thing, food grains are kept in abundance. That is second item. In the countryside, in the villages, every house, they will have the small store for storing the grains. So that there should be sufficient reserve of food grains so that family will be in this way maintained properly. Then third is no quarrel between husband and wife. So if these three conditions are there, then Tatra Sri Swayama Gataha. Goddess Lakshmi herself will come in that house and she will bestow her blessings upon all family members. It will be the ideal life for all of them. So this seems to be some type of promotion of worldly happiness. Why Srila Prabhupada, a sannyasi, is promoting worldly happiness? But there is some reason for that. So Satrap Das Goswami also explains what is the reason. If you want worldly happiness, then the things mentioned in that sloka are required. Does it mean, therefore, that when Srila Prabhupada quotes this sloka, he is recommending worldly happiness? No. But a peaceful foundation in family life makes us more able to prosecute Krishna consciousness. If we are completely distracted and harassed, then all our energies will be wasted in a material struggle. Just like we see sometimes when there is quarrel in the family, either between brothers, husband and wife, they go to the court for property, and the court case is going on, and they have to attend the court. They have to spend all their earnings paying the advocates, and it takes many, many years for the court case to be solved in the court. That is what's happening very frequently in Kali Yuga. But if there is no quarrel, everything is very peaceful, and then there's a chance, there's a very good opportunity to prosecute Krishna consciousness very peacefully. Ideally, a householder should raise his own food and maintain himself in that way. Srila Prabhupada explains, not that for your foodstuff or earning your livelihood, you have to go 100 miles or 50 miles. No. At home, you produce your food grains and stock it. So that is what Janaka Pandit is recommending, that there should be sufficient food grains in the house. And this is what Srila Prabhupada also promoted, that even in this age of Kali, there is ample land in so many places, so the devotees could stay in those lands, establish Vrindavan communities, Vrindavan villages, and in this way cultivate the land, and without any worry, they don't have to go to the office, not going to some industrial complex and working hard along with the others. No, they can peacefully pursue their, to get the basic necessities of life. So in a village economy, which Prabhupada says still exists in India today, and what Prabhupada wanted to also establish within ISKCON, a person can work for only a few months a year and get his basic food requirements for a whole year. Save your time and chant Hare Krishna. That's the Prabhupada's formula. Prabhupada used to advise his disciples on ISKCON farms. According to the Vedic economic system, keeping cows and stocking food grains is the basis for wealth. Thus, everyone should own at least a little land for agriculture and have a few cows to produce milk. So in this way, the simple life in Krishna consciousness, performance of yagyas for the satisfaction of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, there are many slokas where yagya is being described and explained by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. I'll just quote an important sloka from the 18th chapter, 5th sloka. Yagya dhanatapakarma natyajam karyameva tat yagyo dhanam tapaschayava pavanani manishinam. Acts of sacrifice, charity and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity and penance purify even the great souls. Here we see yagya, dakshina, engaged in yagya, vivaha yagya, then became very happy, produced very nice children. So that's why Lord Krishna says that pavanani manishinam. Manishinam refers to very great souls who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, they are also purified by performance of such yajnas. Therefore, such yajna should never be given up. Yajna, dana, tapa, charity, penance, and sacrifice should not be given up. In the explanation purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the yogi should perform acts for the advancement of human society. So the devotees of the Lord, the yogis, they also engage in yajna. They become purified, and even if they think that it is not necessary because it's just for the material welfare, if they are not inclined to engage in yajna because it is a material activity, but Prabhupada says they should still perform acts for the advancement of human society. In other words, the devotees of the Lord, or the yogis in general, those who want to make progress in spiritual life, they should still perform yajna, dana, tapa, especially yajna, because as an example, for others to follow, those who are not on their level, they should understand that the great personalities, they are doing yajna. So everybody also should follow in their footsteps. In this way, this yajna can remain in human society. If the great souls do not perform yajnas, then that will be the end of it. Who is going to do it? There won't be any example, so nobody will care, and the human society will come down to the animal level. So therefore, those who are advanced in spiritual knowledge, even though personally they are not in need of such performances, they are sufficiently advanced for liberation. But for the sake of others, they are still engaged in these ceremonies to show an example. There are many purificatory processes for advancing a human being to a spiritual life. The marriage ceremony, for example, is considered to be one of these sacrifices. It is called Vivaha Yajna. Should a sannyasi who is in a renounced order of life and who has given up his family relations encourage the marriage ceremony? Question mark. The Lord says here that any sacrifice which is meant for human welfare should never be given up. Vivaha Yajna, the marriage ceremony, is meant to regulate the human mind so that it may become peaceful for spiritual advancement. For most men, this Vivaha Yajna should be encouraged, even by persons in the renounced order of life. Sannyasis should never associate with women, but that does not mean that one who is in the lower stages of life, a young man, should not accept a wife in the marriage ceremony. All prescribed sacrifices are meant for achieving the Supreme Lord. Therefore, in the lower stages, they should not be given up. Similarly, charity is for the purification of the heart, and so on. So this shows the importance of yajna here, specifically this Vivaha Yajna, as it is the shloka today in Srimad Bhagavatam, how Yajna Dakshina showed the rest of mankind for all future generations how to be engaged in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, even for the sake of being together and producing children. There must be yajna, that is for self-purification, and that will bring auspicious results. So Srila Prabhupada, from the very beginning of ISKCON, here in this purport of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, should a sannyasi recommend Vivaha Yajna? Yes, he says. Yes. Even though he has chosen a different path, Srila Prabhupada left his house, wife, children, business, everything, to engage 100% in the preaching activities. He thought that, what is this marriage? It is an obstacle. I want to serve Krishna, but I cannot do it 100%. I have to spend so much time for family welfare. So Prabhupada took opportunity and very joyfully and with a great determination took sannyas order, not to have anything to do anymore with a family life and so on. But here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, but a sannyasi should also encourage the marriage ceremony. That should not be given up. He may be a sannyasi, that is different. His own life, that is different. But those who are beginners, those who are not on his level, they must engage in yajna, and specifically vivaha yajna. Those who cannot remain brahmachari, they have to take that family life in order to make advancement in spiritual life. That is the objective. So Srila Prabhupada, sometimes he was telling that what my other god brothers, they are also sannyasis, but they are not doing that. In the Gaudiya Math at that time, during the time of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and even afterwards, the sannyasis were not participating in any of these vivaha yajnas. Srila Prabhupada did it. That shows how, following Bhagavad Gita instruction, that it should never be given up. So Prabhupada took the words of Lord Krishna. He did not do it whimsically. This is Krishna's word, that this yajna should not be given up. So therefore he taught his disciples, even from beginning in New York City, 1966, that Mukunda and Janaki, they are the first one to take up this vow of marriage. Prabhupada told them, this is for life. Don't do like others in the ordinary society, where they give up their vows of marriage so easily that sometimes within 1 month there is divorce. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that of this Chanakya sloka, I have seen within 1 month one lady twice divorced. So this it is sanctioned by the government, and nobody will object, nobody cares, doesn't matter. No? Let her marry a third time, doesn't matter. Nobody will object. That is the situation of the human society. So therefore, Prabhupada wanted to make sure that this vivaha yajna amongst his disciples should be different from other types of marriages in the society. They should be very seriously engaged in Krishna consciousness. That is the foundation. Krishna consciousness is the foundation. Upon that foundation, the yajnas are being performed. And in this way, everything becomes very strong and beautiful and auspicious. So, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita also, at the beginning, Arjuna wanted to give up the battlefield because he didn't want to kill his relatives and all that. One reason why Arjuna wanted to leave the battlefield is that in the sloka number 40, first chapter, he says, Adharma bhibavat Krishna parushyanti kulastriyaha strishu dushtasu varshneya jayate varna sankaraha. It's a very important sloka. at the beginning. When irreligion is prominent in the family or Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood or descendant of Vishnu comes unwanted progeny. So on the one side, we have beautiful and very good progeny by performance of yajna properly. On the other side, what Arjuna is telling, that if these soldiers are killed, they will not be able to perform yajna. All the traditions of the society, family traditions, will be lost. The result will be that the society will be spoiled. The women will lose their character because there is nobody to protect them, nobody to teach them religious principles, and they'll become degraded, and then result will be Varna Sankara, that is unwanted population. So these two aspects are there. By performance of yajna in Krishna consciousness, very good population, peaceful, prosperous society, which is very auspicious for development of the ultimate goal of life. On the other side, if yajnas are not done, women become degraded, the whole society becomes degraded, unwanted population. So, in this way, we understand the importance of following the footsteps of yajna dakshina, performing this vivaha yajna for the ultimate benefit. Some more notes from Sattva Das Goswami. Western women often equate simplicity and chastity with unintelligence because they have been exploited. The whole atmosphere between men and women is one of mistrust. This is the fault of immoral men, but it is not that women should aspire for the same lack of morality that these men espouse. Male-female psychology is different. Men like to be dominant and women need or want protection. Therefore, they have to take a subordinate role. This is worldly consideration and not a spiritual perfection. Those pursuing Krishna consciousness should follow the Vedic ideal. Both men and women should strive for purity in their Krishna consciousness and peace in their home life. If even among devotees, a man tells his wife that she is his subordinate and should therefore engage in sinful activity with him, she is not obliged. So that's all very, the relationship between man and woman is not one-sided. Prabhupada also had experience amongst his own disciples. Sometimes the boy disciple, the man disciple, is doing something wrong, but his wife is very faithful to Prabhupada, following all the principles, and she doesn't want to follow such a husband. Somehow she got married to such a disciple. That disciple has fallen down, not following rules and regulations anymore. Just like Govinda Dasi and husband Gausundar, that is described in Prabhupada Lilamrita, how Gausundar went to Hawaii to start a center for Prabhupada. Instead of taking the land for establishing ISKCON center, he put the land under his name and in this way stole ISKCON property. Govinda Dasi was very upset and she left and she complained to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada called him our heroine Govinda Dasi. She is heroine. Means, what kind of heroine? She is not a nonsense faithful wife, so-called faithful. Faithfulness is not unconditional. It depends on the faithfulness of the husband. If the husband follows religious principles, then the wife should be faithful to husband. She'll be benefited. he'll get the same punya or spiritual consciousness, he will advance. If the husband is going against the rules and regulations, doing all types of illicit activities, it becomes the duty of the wife to separate. She becomes heroine. Prabhupada called heroine or heroine Govindadasi. She left company of her husband for the higher principle of Krishna consciousness, faithfulness to the spiritual master, faithfulness to Lord Krishna. That is highest principle. So everything comes under Krishna consciousness, but by the instruction of Vishnu himself, Yajna, the Yajnas should be performed in Kali Yuga, Sankirtan Yajna. That is the main Yajna. Sankirtan Yajna. Many times Srila Prabhupada instructed us again and again about the importance of Sankirtan. I'll just give one example, although I'm going beyond time, but I like to give some example about the importance of Sankirtan Yajna. When we started the farm, Yunami Sharanya, at that time the land was not cultivated, and it was very important to bring water everywhere so that the crops cultivation could be done properly. So the head of the farm, Mahamsa Swami at that time, he consulted an expert in agriculture that expert told him that you have to dig wells and you have to irrigate the land like this, giving advice in that manner. So Mahamsa Swami was very happy to hear. And he wrote to Srila Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, I'm very happy to tell you that we got the advice from a very important specialist in agriculture, and he told us to dig wells and irrigate the land. In this way, agriculture will be very successful. Replying to that letter, Srila Prabhupada was in a different mood. What is this you are telling me? You didn't hear what we have told you all these years? You have not heard? You have not understood anything about what we have told all these years? You are taking advice from so-called experts, and you do not know how to follow basic principle of Krishna consciousness, Sankirtan Yajna. And Prabhupada quoted that Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanya dhanna sambhava yajyad bhavati parjanya yajyad karma samudbhava. Importance is on the Yajna, Sankirtan Yajna. Why you are neglecting this? You are calling experts in their own field, but you have been following all these years the Sankirtan Yajna. So, Yajna Bhavati Parjanya, that has to be followed. If you do Yajna, Sankirtan Yajna on the land and going all the nearby villages, there will be rain, and all your problems, agriculture will be perfectly, that will be going on. There is no need of anything else. Sankirtan Yajna. So in this way, we understand the importance of Yajna. Regarding Sankirtan Yajna, again, another memory I'd like to mention briefly is that there's sannyas. Sannyas is also Diksha Yajna. At the time of, if Prabhupada himself took sannyas Diksha from Keshav Maharaj in Mathura, and at that time, Yajna also was being done at the time of Diksha, Agnihotra, and recitation of Vedic mantras was there also. At the same time, a few other brahmacharis were engaged in Sankirtan, Mridanga Karta chanting Hare Krishna. So among the assembly, it was difficult to hear the Vedic mantras because Sankirtan was going on also. So they were told, you can do Kirtan afterwards. Now the Yajna is going on, and so we want to hear the Vedic mantras. So please stop your Kirtan. You can do afterwards. Prabhupada was there taking sannyas, and Prabhupada heard this instruction given to the brahmachari doing Kirtan. Don't stop Kirtan, Prabhupada said. Don't stop the Kirtan. Let the Kirtan go on. That is the real Yajna. So that should never be given up, Sankirtan Yajna. And even at the time of establishing the deities in Vrindavan, or especially like in Vrindavan, Prabhupada mentioned that the deity installation was done with the Sankirtan Yajna. Others, pandits, they came for reciting the Vedic mantras for the sake of the public. Otherwise, public will tell deities have not been installed properly. There was no Vedic mantra. So, but Prabhupada said the real installation, it was done, really speaking, by the Sankirtan Yajna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Any questions or comments? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.